Good morning. Welcome to the second episode of Bhagavad Gita. As mentioned earlier, Bhagavad Gita means the divine song. The song or that which we are hearing directly from the Lord. So, therefore, it becomes very special to have this kind of knowledge that there is something which is heard by the human being, and that which is coming to him or her is divine. While we are going through this Bhagavad Gita, we know that Arjuna is in the battlefield with Krishna, and on both the sides, the army men are ready to fight. It's the Mahabharata war. It's not a small war. There are so many soldiers, army men ready to fight. So during this time, we see that Arjuna is in a dilemma. The dilemma which Arjuna is undergoing is that how can I fight with my teachers? How can I see my kith and kin being killed by this war? And from the standpoint of Arjuna, what he says is true, because we don't want to kill anyone. We don't want to see bloodshed, and we want peace. How can there be peace when we are fighting with our own men and killing them, and we are seeing our own people dying? So from the standpoint of Arjuna, what Arjuna is saying is relevant. But we know that Arjuna is a warrior, and there is a value for what he is standing there. The whole war is between dharma and adharma. Dharma means righteousness, and adharma means unrighteousness. We know in the opposite army, Duryodhana and all these masters, teachers, are not on the path of righteousness. And we also know that the war began when these people, the Duryodhana, who has promised to Arjuna and to his brothers that he will give the palace and the land which belonged to Arjuna and his brothers. But when the Pandavas, that is the Arjuna and his brothers, came to Duryodhana asking for their land, Duryodhana said that he is not even going to give a pinhead of land to them. So there was only one way, and that was to fight. So this is a fight with Duryodhana, who is on the path of adharma, unrighteousness. So both the Arjuna and also Duryodhana go and visit a neutral person. Who is that neutral person? And that neutral person is Krishna. Krishna is lying on his couch, on his bed, while with ego, Duryodhana goes and sits behind Krishna on a chair. With reverence, Arjuna is standing near the leg of Krishna. When Krishna opens his eyes, he first sees Arjuna, and Krishna asks, "What do you want?" And Arjuna says, "As we are going to have a war with Duryodhana, I want you to be the charioteer of the chariot which I am going to drive, which you are going to drive." So Krishna agrees. Then Duryodhana comes forward and says, "Krishna, I want your army." And Krishna says, "Okay, you can take my army." So these things are already happening where Krishna has already accepted that he will become a driver to Arjuna and that he will not use any arms. So after all these preparations, when Arjuna is coming to the battlefield, when he is seeing all these army men, he is seeing the teachers and his own kith and kin, he is unable to fight. This dilemma is always happening in our life. We see that actually it is the Arjuna who has to blow the conch first, because they are actually going to fight with Duryodhana. But we see that Duryodhana is saying to all his army men to protect the great grandsire Bhishma. And with ego, it is Bhishma who is blowing the conch. And then later we have all these men blowing conch, trumpets, drums, and all kinds of instruments. And there is a tumultuous kind of havoc around that place. On the other side, where there is Krishna, Krishna is blowing the conch, then we have Arjuna, then we have Yudhishthira, Bhima. A systematic way, each and everyone is blowing their conch. So from this itself, we can see that how there is a difference between the Duryodhana side and the Arjuna side. Where there is a systematic way of war in the side of Arjuna, and we see that there is no systematic way in the side of Duryodhana. And also we see that Arjuna is saying to Krishna that I am not going to fight. I would like to become a monk and go from one home to another asking for alms. We can see that Krishna is smiling because the great war is going to happen, and during this time, if somebody is saying that I am not going to fight, I would rather become a monk, go from one home to another, ask for alms, how would it be? Can you imagine? And there is horripilation, there is tears in the eyes of Arjuna. He is sitting on the floor and he is so sad. And then Arjuna is saying to Krishna that, Krishna, please help me. Only you can help me. You are my guru. In the 7th verse, actually, Arjuna is asking Krishna to help him. And we can see that Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna about the war situation, that all the men whom he is going to kill are already killed. And also Krishna is saying certain secrets, that even before this war, even when these people were living before, Krishna was there. At all times Krishna is there. And also he is explaining to Arjuna that the soul never dies. It is the physical body which is changing. We are born, we become teenagers, we become adults, we become old, and one day we perish. So it is the soul which is taking a new body. It is like changing the suit and wearing a new suit. And also we see that Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that the soul which is eternal cannot be cut. You cannot wet the soul. You cannot dry the soul. You cannot burn the soul. So from this example we can understand that I am really that soul. Whatever other things are there are all transitory. Nothing is permanent in this world. Even the relationship which we have is not permanent. Even the house in which we are living or the car which we are using is not permanent. But it seems permanent for us. And we think that we are always going to enjoy our life in this way. This is really a delusion. So because of delusion also, we take this transitory world to be permanent. And this is the cause for pain and suffering. So from the viewpoint of Krishna, a yogi like Arjuna should not suffer. It may be heat, or the situation may be cold, maybe it is painful or joyful situation in one's life. One has to go through all this in a neutral way. And also to understand that what we really know about us is not the reality. There is something more to our life. So therefore, we see that Krishna is saying to Arjuna, the soul is never born, nor it ever dies, nor does it becomes on being born. For it is unborn, eternal, everlasting. Even though the body is slain, the soul is not. For that, again, there is an example which is given as a man shedding worn out garments takes others new ones. Likewise, the embodied soul, casting off worn out bodies, enter into others that are new. We already said that the soul cannot be cut, nor can fire burn it, water cannot wet it, nor can wind dry it. So, this soul is unmanifest. It is incomprehensible and it is spoken of as immutable. Therefore, knowing it as such, you should never grieve. For if in that case, death is certain for the born and rebirth is inevitable for the dead, You should not therefore grieve over the inevitable. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 29, Krishna says to Arjuna, some look on the self as a wonder, some speak of it as a wonder, some hear of it as a wonder, still others, though hearing, do not understand it at all. The man who has long practiced the control of the senses is like the mirror which is clear. In the clear mirror, the image reflected is also clear. Another example is a pure cloth can easily be dyed with any color. When the mind is pure, the self is reflected in it clearly. But such men of pure mind are rare. So, spiritual experience is a rare achievement for any human being. The verse may also mean that the speaker, the hearer, and the knower of the Supreme Being are all men of wonder. So it is very interesting to note that some look at that experience as wonder, and some person is speaking about that inner experience as the most wonderful thing in his life, and some hear it as the most wonderful thing. And amid all this, there are men, though hearing, do not understand it all. So this is very interesting to note. We know that Arjuna is a warrior and he is ready to fight, but still Krishna is saying to Arjuna that if you are not willing to fight, what will happen? All the great men who adore you will say that you are a coward. They will say that you are running away from your responsibilities. And if you run away, they will pity you. They will say that we never thought that Arjuna is a coward. He is running away from his responsibilities. He is a Kshatriya, a warrior, and it is the duty of a warrior to fight. So from this example, what we can understand is Krishna is also helping Arjuna to find his own Swadharma. Swadharma is one's own dharma. As a human being, we all have our own dharma. We are action bounded. And if we know our nature and accordingly we are action bounded, we will be very happy. Because as a warrior, his duty is to fight. As a train driver, it is his duty to drive the train. As a pilot, it is your duty to fly the aeroplane. So similarly, each person is action bound. So here, Arjuna is already a warrior and his duty is to fight. And if he is saying now that he is not going to fight and thinking that he is doing the right thing, what will happen? Like Krishna said that people will say that Arjuna is a coward and he doesn't want to fight. So from this, what we understand is that as a human being, we are all bound to do our karma the best way possible. And even if it is a small work, if we are doing it with total dedication, it makes a great difference in our life. So, with these words, let's listen to the next topic later. Love and devotion.